All right, a couple different things. One, we've had some very, very good games in the academy. We want to continue to see growth. We want to continue to see development. We're really happy with the progress, but we want to keep being picky. We want to keep pushing. We want to keep forcing players to learn, to grow, and most importantly, to develop. So some of the areas that we've noticed are perhaps small, tiny little details, but they're small, tiny little details that matter a lot to us. So we want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Parents, we've had some questions about why is my son doing push-ups, or why did my daughter get subbed out of the game? We have a couple simple rules. One, obviously, we want players to play crazy hard. We don't want them to be selfish. We want the ball to move. But a couple of those small, simple rules that we want to make sure that we're all on the same page, you understand. If your son or daughter's jersey is not tucked in, we're going to sub them out. That's the way it is in college. Referees are constantly going to be hounding them to tuck them in. We want them to learn that now, and the sooner the better. If your son or daughter's shoe is untied, we're going to sub them out. We're going to make sure that they know, hopefully, how to double knot it so that doesn't happen again. And they'll get a chance to go back in the game whenever the coach feels like it. But we want it to be a learning lesson. We want them to know that we're not going to wait for them to tie their shoes. Next detail. When the player gets the ball for a free throw situation, we don't want them to dribble. We don't want them to have so much extra time to think, to process, to dwell on the gravity of the situation. We want them to catch. We want them to shoot. There's a couple of reasons for this. One, we don't want them to waste a whole lot of time overthinking. We want them to be able to practice this shot, which you can get way more shots in if you're with your mom or dad or brother, sister, or friend or teammate, if you catch and shoot from the free throw line instead of catching, dribbling 13 times. So this is a small detail that makes us a little bit different. We realize that. For sure, it's different than their normal environment, but we want them to be able to practice more and get more out of that. So we're chasing efficiency, and we want them to keep the game moving without having to overthink. We've noticed that after scores, sometimes, especially the younger players, will stand behind the backboard. So in this inbound situation, it can be very crowded. Players are playing full court man-to-man defense, which is what we want. We want players to be very intense and deliberate with how they're trying to put pressure on their opponents. But in inbound situations, when you're going full court after a score, you can run the baseline, and that helps you get a new angle. That helps you not risk throwing it off the bottom or the side or the back of the backboard. So please remind your son or daughter that they can run the baseline. They should run the baseline. They can move along the baseline to make that inbound pass after a made basket. We know that you all love your kids. We realize that. It's okay to bring them a water. It's okay to come check on them if they got poked in the eye or their shoelace needs double knotted. That's fine. What we don't want is parents coaching. We want our coaches to be able to teach, encourage, correct, point out details, remind players to run plays, make sure they're on the same page with what we're doing. We don't want parents coming up from the sideline to remind their player that they need to do something or should do something more or less. We want our coaches to do that. After the game, for sure, grab your son or daughter, pull them aside, and ask them why they didn't box out. Ask them why they didn't follow through all the way. Make sure that they're moving the ball. Make sure they're cutting. Make sure they're spacing. Make sure they don't pass and stand. Those are, of course, very important details we would love for you to reinforce, but we want to be on the same page. What we don't want is every mom and dad screaming from the sideline that their son or daughter should shoot it every single time. That's not good team basketball. That's not what we want. We want everybody to get a chance. We want everybody to get touches. Some players are going to be faster, stronger, maybe even more skilled. Maybe things catch on a little bit sooner. Maybe their basketball IQ is a little bit higher compared to the players in their group at that given moment. But what should they do? They should try to play the right way. And the right way is spacing, cutting, ball movement, and sharing the basketball. We've seen several instances of this, and it makes us very proud. It's something we've talked about in practices. If and when there's a player on the floor, for sure a teammate, but even your opponent, if and when there's a player on the floor, help them up. It's good sportsmanship. We don't want players to dribble 20 times. And ideally, whoever dribbles the ball across half court, unless there's a layup, unless there's a wide open 99 to 100% chance that you're going to make this layup, we want you to pass. We want you to pass. We want you to move the ball. If and when you get the ball back, for sure, you should attack. If and when a player can beat their opponent one-on-one and get to the basket, they should. But we know that there's going to be help side. That's the way we want to play. And when that help side comes, we want that player to recognize who's open, make the right pass, make the right read. Maybe you need a pump fake, maybe you need to pivot, but we want them to make the right decision and make that pass. And then the cycle continues. Is that player open? Should they shoot? Should they drive? Should they attack? Should they attack the closeout? Should they make the extra pass? We've worked on that very, very hard. We have drills for that. And we have players with the ability now to pass with either hand, attacking left or right, pivoting off of either foot. We want to see those actions happen in a game. We don't want to see any player shoot against 2 or 3 people repeatedly. That's not good basketball. Overall, we're very happy with the progress. We are picky. We realize that in what we're chasing in terms of development. We want your son or daughter to reach their potential. We're going to keep pushing them. We're going to keep demanding, and we want to see that these games continue to improve. I'm sure you recognized that last week, the first 5 minutes of every game, there was a portion where they were not allowed to dribble. Why did we do this? For those of you that are basketball people, I'm sure you realize this. We did this to make sure that they understand that once they pass, they have to move. We want them to understand triangles. We want them to know that they should pass and cut. There should be give and go opportunities. They can't run 40, 50, 60 feet away and expect that their teammates can be able to find them. They have to get into the right space. They have to move. And we want them to understand how to play basketball without relying on over dribbling. And it's amazing how beautiful the basketball looked right after that when we allowed them to dribble again. Those same concepts stayed in place, and players are moving, cutting, spacing, and that's how we want to play. Let's keep pushing them, and let's keep making sure that they learn throughout this entire process. Come get some.